UConn is no longer just a basketball school. That might be a bit of a stretch, but last year was phenomenal for the Huskies. Jim Mora has done a phenomenal job revitalizing this program. In 2024, he led UConn to a 9-4 record, their first winning season in 14 years, and they won their bowl game over North Carolina to clinch their first bowl victory since 2009. Now the Huskies return tons of talent from last year's squad, and they could see themselves get a second straight winning season, back-to-back winning seasons, for the first time since 2009 and 2010. You take a look at what happened last year. UConn, we mentioned, 9-4. 3 of their 4 losses were to Duke, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. Those losses by a combined 15 points. So an average of 5 points per game were their losses against those squads. And they did get blown out by Maryland in the season opener, but that was the opener. They got better as the year went on and were so close to having a much better year than an 8-4 regular season. They were competitive. That's the beauty of what we saw from UConn. They were winning games, and even in the games they lost, they weren't just getting blown out. Then they, of course, beat North Carolina by 13 points in their bowl game, a game where the Tar Heels lacked a lot of motivation, were down a lot of starters, and already looking ahead to the Bill Belichick era. But regardless, a fantastic year for UConn, and now you look at what they've got coming back. Offensively, they averaged almost 32 points per game and nearly 400 yards per game last year. Both of those marks were the best for UConn since 2003. We're talking history here, not just the record, not just the bowl game, but the stats. The best offensive stats since 2003, and they were about as balanced as you can get. 199 rushing yards per game, 198 passing yards per game. I mean, literally almost exact. Now 7 starters are back on offense. Quarterback Joe Fagnano returns. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't electric. I don't even think he eclipsed 2,000 yards, but he took good care of the football. 20 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, and he's a veteran and will do even better this year for the Huskies. Their leading rusher, Cam Edwards, returns. Had over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns last year, and their number 1 wide receiver, Skylar Bell, returns after posting 860 reception yards. They return 3 offensive linemen plus a handful of key transfers. UConn's offense, I think, can match last year's total. I really do. Defensively, 4 starters are back after giving up just 23.1 points per game and 347 yards per game. So, not bad, all things considered. I know the schedule wasn't the toughest in the world, but again, they played a handful of power conference opponents and held their own. They do now lose their top 4 tacklers, and the defensive line is a major concern as they bring in 6 transfers, but not many with a lot of experience. The back 7, though, I think looks really, really good. They bring in a first-team All-American or first-team American Athletic Conference selection, Tyquan King, coming in at linebacker from Temple. Byron Parham transfers in from Washington, but the year prior at San Jose State posted 106 tackles. So this linebacking core, very underrated for the Huskies. 5 of their top 8 defensive backs from last year do return, a secondary that had 10 interceptions in 2024. They also add Tyrese Mills in from Penn State, an All-American selection at the D2 level, Devin Pringle coming in from Grand Valley State. So this UConn team has some talent. They've got a great coach in Jim Mora who has, gotten them to 2 bowl games in the last couple of years. I'm really genuinely excited for this team, and really am hoping to see them get a winning record. Let's see if they can do it. You look at the schedule, they will beat Central Connecticut. They are 1-0. They then go on the road to Syracuse, so they only lost 2 by 7 last year. Granted, they got that backdoor cover, that backdoor touchdown with about a minute and a half left to only lose 31-24. But still, put up a fight. They did give up over 530 yards of offense, though. Now, Kyle McCord is gone. Some of the best wide receivers they had are gone. But I do think the transfer quarterback, Stephen Jelly, will deliver for Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. The defense has 6 starters coming back, so they should improve a little bit after an up-and-down year. Fran Brown's got himself a decent squad. They're going to take a major step back, but I think they have enough to beat UConn. It will be close. From a veteran standpoint, UConn's got the edge there. But from an athletic standpoint, I think Syracuse has got it, plus home field advantage. They get the win, but it is close just like last year. They're 1-1. I think they beat Delaware. A matchup between former FCS teams, a bit of an old FCS rivalry. Delaware went 9-2 at the FCS level last year, but now moves up to the FBS level, where they will be a member of the Conference USA. But again, that's a bigger jump than people realize. UConn should win this game against the Blue Hens. We're looking forward to predicting them here in a couple weeks. They are 2-1, and let's make them 3-1 with a win over Ball State, who I think will struggle mightily in the MAC this year, especially with a brand new head coach. So they're 3-1, things are looking good, and they go on the road to Buffalo, who they beat last year. They beat the Bulls 47-3. Are the Bulls really 44 points better than what we saw last year? I'll say yeah. Buffalo is a dangerous team in the MAC this year. Actually could contend for a MAC title. They surprised us all last year. They went 9-4 in 2024. They got 16 starters back on as a whole, including their 1,000-yard rusher, Al J. Henderson. 7 of their top 9 tacklers do return, and their quarterback is Taquan Roberson, who was the quarterback for UConn back in 2023. Just an interesting tidbit there. But at home for Buffalo with a lot of veteran leadership coming back, I just think the Bulls are going to be a little bit too good. I think they're going to take a decent step forward, and I think could contend for that conference title. UConn drops the game there. They're 3-2, but they bounce back and beat Florida International to get to 4-2 before the bye week. The Panthers have a new head coach in Willie Simmons. They only have 6 starters as a whole coming back. Once again, feeling like another down year for Florida International, who just has not been very good for a very long time. So 4-2 for UConn heading into their bye week. 2 more wins away from getting back to a bowl game. They do not advance towards that total because I think they dropped the game at Boston College. Now, the Eagles, I don't know what to expect out of them, right? I like Bill O'Brien a lot. They were mediocre last year. That's kind of been the nature of Boston College football for so long. They're typically anywhere from a 5 to 7 win team, but not much more than that. This year, it's going to be interesting because I don't think they have great quarterback play. I'm not sure the offense is going to thrive that well. The defense looks okay, but UConn is 0-6 all-time at Boston College. Only lost by 7 there back in 2023. History certainly not back on their side. The secondary, the back 7, especially for Boston College, does appear to be pretty well, and it's homecoming for the Eagles. I think they get a win here, just like the Syracuse game. I think it's close, but UConn falling short. They're 4-3. They then go on the road to Rice, back-to-back road games. They beat the Owls 17-10 last year, and then won at Rice the year prior, so the third straight meeting between these two programs. The Owls believe that they can be good this year. They believe they can. New coach Scott Abel believes that's going to be the case. And maybe they will be better than we expect. But their defense, I don't have much faith in. They allowed 161 rushing yards per game last year. I think this is a game where Cam Edwards has himself a pretty good day. UConn put off the upset there 2 years ago, took care of business at home. They've got their number. They're going to continue to do so. They are 5-3 with a win at Rice, and they clinch bowl eligibility again with a win at home against UAB. Last year's game was a thriller. The Huskies were down, 13 in the fourth quarter, came back and won 31-23. And the Blazers could surprise a little bit this year. They'll be a little bit more competitive, but back at home, knowing they've got a pretty tough stretch in their final 3 games, I think Jim Mora has his team ready to go here. And again, this UAB defense, while the offense might be decent, the defense still has a long ways to go. Only 4 starters back. They allowed over 200 rushing yards per game. Another game where I think Cam Edwards could deliver. If you run well enough, it sets up the pass. Perfect storm for UConn. They get the win, 6-3, and that's huge because I think they drop their next 2. Huge because I think they lose to Duke and I think they lose to Air Force. Now, I know that's disappointing because both those games are at home and they almost beat Duke last year, only lost by 5. But this Duke team could, they're not going to match last year's 9 win total. I don't think that's going to happen. But they bring in a maybe better quarterback this year in Darian Mensah, transferring in from Tulane. They have 7 starters back on defense. Like the Syracuse game, like the Boston College game, I think UConn gives them all they can handle. But Duke simply has the better coach in Manny Diaz. They've got the better quarterback in Darian Mensah, and I think the defense will get stronger as the year goes on. So maybe another one-possession game, and it hurts me because I want to pick UConn so bad to beat one of these power conference opponents. They were so close to doing it last year. I know they did get the win over UNC in the bowl game, but so close in the regular season. I feel like I should pick them in some game. Now, I think the most likely power conference team they could beat this year would be Syracuse in week 2. That would probably be the most likely. I still don't think it can happen. I don't think they can beat BC on the road. I don't think they can beat a solid Duke team, even though it is at home. They lose that game, and they lose to Air Force. I think they lose to Air Force. Now, you look at Air Force, they weren't that good last year. 5-7, a down year for the Falcons, but they picked up a lot of steam down the stretch. They won their final 4 games. They entered the year with into the offseason with momentum, 4-game winning streak. In those final 4 games, they averaged 29.3 points per game. The offense that struggled for so much of last year started to figure it out over the final third of the season. That same offense that runs the option, that's so tough to stop, now brings 8 starters back. They bring 5 starters back on defense that only gave up 23 points per game last year. I am concerned for UConn's ability to stop this option, especially with no time to prepare for it. You're going to play a tough physical game against Duke. No week of rest, not much prep time to prepare for Air Force. I think the Falcons come on the road, get the win, but UConn clinches that back-to-back winning season mark was a win at Florida Atlantic. They beat the Owls 48-14 last year. Zach Kittley, the new head coach, is going to have this offense rolling. He's a great offensive mind, but the defense needs some work. Only 2 starters back on that side of the ball. That's going to be their downfall. UConn goes on the road, gets the win, and they are 7-5. Now, that's a minor step back. They went 8-4 last year in the regular season, won their bowl game to get to 9. We've got them at 7-5. They win their bowl game, they get to 8. Maybe you find them beating one of those power teams that we mentioned. Maybe you think they can beat Air Force. Maybe you think they can beat Buffalo. They could challenge for 9 wins in the regular season, something like that. But regardless, the major storyline, the biggest takeaway is that UConn football is becoming relevant again. They're not a one-hit wonder. Jim Mora, again, I cannot give him enough credit for what he's done with this program. A team and a program that's pretty much left for dead was practically irrelevant. He has come in and revitalized them, made them somewhat fun to watch again, made them competitive again. 9-4 last year into the postseason. That's what UConn's hoping for. It's just consistent competitiveness, consistent postseason appearances. Mora is doing that. Back-to-back winning seasons for UConn for the first time since 2009 and 2010, and the future continuing to look very bright for the Huskies. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to our expert picks, home to our weekly newsletter, some of the best content, analysis, and picks in the entire country. You do not want to miss out on that. The link for it, again, down in the description below. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.